welcome you to the Just My Thoughts podcast. And I am your host. And you can call me B. A nice B. Not one of those B's that you don't want to be called. So welcome again. But I'm going to be talking about various different topics that are going on in the world on this podcast. And through some way, shape, form, or fashion, it will be and will center around relationships. Our relationships to ourselves, but then also our relationship to the world around us. And usually I'll choose things that are ripped from the headlines. That's a nod to all of my Law and Order fans out there. I've been a huge fan. I began watching it from the time it started airing. But anyway, back to the show. I kind of feel like at this point, I've lived long enough and I've earned the right. Plus, I've had to listen to everyone else's opinion about everything else. And I figured, hell, why not chime in myself? But no, quite honestly, this is my second go-round. I hosted a radio show while I lived in D.C., or part of the time while I lived in D.C., and fell in love with it. It's a wonderful outlet. I think it has revolutionized the way people are able to express themselves. And for that reason alone, it is a very good venue to have. So thank you for all those who are tuning in. And hopefully you'll listen all the way through and continue to come back and listen. Today, I want to talk about the topic of civility. But before I get into that topic, let me give credit. My producer is telling me that I need to give credit here. So I want to give credit where credit is due. That opening song that I played comes from the Dave Brubeck Quartet. Brubeck Quartet. From the album Time Out Takes. And so this particular episode is going to be Time Out, Take 5. The song is called Take 5. And you might wonder why I chose that particular song. But I chose that particular song because I absolutely love music. And I love jazz, especially instrumental jazz. But I chose that particular song to start the podcast with because it, one, I'm a big music lover, but I also played in the band. When I was growing up, I played the trombone. Loved playing it, and I actually had to stop playing it because back in that particular time, when I was growing up, you couldn't be in the concert band, or you couldn't be in the band, the marching band, and also play sports. And I was one of those kids that pretty much played every sport that you could think of. As I think back, I played football, basketball, tennis, track, baseball, and continued. I went on and played football and tennis also in college. So, yeah, I was one of those kids. So I couldn't play, or I had to make that choice, and I chose football over music. I know. But never lost the love for it. The reason why I chose this particular song, for shout out to all my Kansas City Chiefs fans. I'm a huge sports fan, as I just got through telling you. And I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. Huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. Over the last 5 or 6 years, definitely 5 or 6 years, but even basically since Andy Reid has been our head coach, we've been kind of whooping some tail. And I'm just happy about it. So I will, from time to time, again, be talking about things from a sports standpoint as well. And so if I'm a little bit biased to my hometown, forgive me in advance, but I'm not sorry. Not sorry at all. So again, that was from a concert, I believe, in 1964. That's when the album was released. So I chose that particular song because of the fact, not only with sports, if you go and look at, which I'm a huge fan of, NFL films, they're always doing the different shows from back in the day. And I love watching the old films and how they played back then. Much more brutal sport back then than it is now. It's almost like powder puff football. Sorry, hate to say it, but it is compared to the way it was back then. And you understand why they've made the changes. They're trying to be safer, when it comes to brain injuries and other injuries as well. So you understand why, but again, it's a different game. But that being said, if you go back and look at those or watch those different shows that they air on NFL Network, they always have music to them, and it's always I know exactly what it is. It's songs that are very similar to what I just played here from the Dave Brubeck Band. As a matter of fact, they are songs that were, because I looked it up, they were arranged by Sam Spence. And I might even play a snippet of one of them. But it reminded me of something that just happened to us here recently. And that was the trade of one of our... He will probably go down as one of the all-time Chief greats at wide receiver, definitely. But all-time probably. And in 6 years, he accomplished some things that no other receiver has. And that's in the entire league, let alone the Chiefs. And so most of you who are sports fans or football fans have heard of Tyreek Hill. So when the trade happened to Miami, a lot of people were up in arms and didn't understand why, or didn't want it to happen, because you get attached to players that play for your team and you root for them. And when they have to move on, or when they do move on, it can be a little... depressing, I guess, or disappointing, I should say. Not depressing, but disappointing. And the reason why I bring that up is, but it's a business. I play sports, and so I understand it. It's a business. And at that point, he was asking for more money than the Chiefs were able to give him, to be quite honest, and to keep their system afloat successfully. Let me repeat that, successfully. Because yes, we could have paid him the money, but then there are other aspects of the team which they do have other needs that would have gone unaddressed. And he's not the first superstar who has moved on. We see that happen all throughout the NFL season. And with the draft coming up here in the next few days, I thought it just was kind of appropriate in a sense to start out that way. And also because I was a big fan of Tyreek Hill, and I'm sad to see him go, but I understand why, so I'm not upset. But when you watched him play, and when he can take a ball, we know he can go deep. We know he can blow past receivers. But when you can take a ball and catch it 5 yards down the field and take it to the house, and as you're taking it to the house, you're throwing up the peace sign, that lets you know how fast you are. And so this song reminded me of the music that they play. And so for all my Chiefs fans out there, all my fans from Kansas City, you let me know. I think that, hey, I know I'm not saying that he's the greatest ever. What I'm saying is the way he would run through defenses, and probably still will do so with the Miami Dolphins. That song is appropriate that I just played with how he moves through defenses compared to the other songs. So I think we need to have a particular song for him in his honor, just for what he's been to the NFL. Hey, I'm sorry, I do like receivers, probably because I played quarterback, and so I had to throw to them and hope and pray that they would catch the ball. So, and that's why football is considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, team sports, because it's so many people involved that you have to get in one mindset to do one and accomplish one goal, and that is very, very difficult to do. But anyway, let me put that aside and get to the topic at hand tonight or today. And again, I want to talk about civility. But I want to talk about civility not from the aspect of just the word. The word really just means to be polite, to be civil, to be cordial, to be kind in your actions and your dealings. And why would I bring that up? Well, there's a lot of examples I could have used, but I chose this particular example because it was something that just struck me really raw in the moment. And I've had a few days to kind of let it marinate for a moment. But I was very disturbed as I'm right now working from home, so I have an opportunity to catch some of the news of the day. And I was very disturbed during the recent nomination hearing for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. And I'll explain to you why in just a moment. But before I do, what I'd like to read to you real quick, it's just a brief paragraph. What was written by the Fraternal Order of Police prior to her confirmation, which we know has already transpired and has happened. So I want to congratulate Judge Jackson, Justice Jackson, I should say, on her confirmation, a bipartisan confirmation, and I'll get into more of that in just a second. But let me read this quick paragraph from the Fraternal Order of Police. Judge Jackson comes from a law enforcement family with two uncles who were career law enforcement officers. One was a Miami-Dade County sex crimes detective, and the other rose through the ranks of the City of Miami Police Department to become the chief of police. Her brother served as an undercover officer in a drug sting unit in Baltimore after graduating from college. So she should know quite well the difficulties and dangers